Yo, 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 yo. Wake up, wake up, wake up. It's the first of the month. So catch your checks and get up. Hey, my chicken, we having a wonderful day. It is the first of the month, y'all. It is January 1st, 2021. We out of 2020. And I know it may not be a big deal for a lot of people, but it's a big deal for a lot of people. It's a new season. It's a new year. This podcast is back. Granted, the name has changed just a pinch, but you still getting this good. Okay? Yes. So I know it's been a minute. I took a couple months to hibernate, to recharge, and plan things accordingly. And now I'm back. I hear. As the Turks and Caicos people say, I right there. You got to say it with the inflection or it doesn't count. But anyway, I do have so much to share about the past 2 months and change, inclusive of all the modifications that you may have already noticed within the Tingz Nice brand. But I'm not going to talk about that right now. What I will say is that this is no longer a carnival specific podcast, because clearly ain't no carnivals happening no time soon. So we gonna talk about whatever the we gonna talk about until carnival come back again. And even then, we are still gonna talk about whatever the we gonna talk about. Period. All right. I think you get me. I think you understand. So what I am going to do today is introduce you to our first guest, our first full feature episode for 2021. So here is my conversation with Daydream Alston, also known as Oyabunmi. She is a visionary, a creator, a devotee of the Ifa tradition. She's an author and founder of her own publication company. You better work, honey, okay? And she also hosts the YouTube series My Orisha Journey, in which she uses her voice to demystify the Ifa tradition. And lastly, she's a diviner, and she channels inspirational messages for her clients via tarot readings. So Day has 3 recommendations on how to step into 2021 as your best self. And she's also sharing ways to take better control of your life. Here we go. Creator, messenger, is it diviner? Or diviner?
Yes,
Diviner in Oya, right? That's what you have listed on Instagram.
indeed, among so many other things.
So talk to everybody about all of what that entails and everything else that I didn't mention just now.
Okay, so I've been trying to think about a more simplified way of sharing what it is that I do and who I am. And I think the thing that comes to mind for me is that I'm in the business of inspiration. So, I have a lot of different creative hats that I wear. That's why I call myself a creator. But the baseline, right, or the root of it all is that I want to inspire people. So I use my divination, which is my tarot readings, to, inspire. I use my books. I've written, I think, 5 books, self-published 5 books to this point. I use those to inspire people. I'm starting to work on music. I've done modeling type of shoots in the past that I used to inspire. So, I really just kind of go with whatever my, latest creative endeavor is and use that as a way to either bring joy to people or share some type of information about self-reflection and self-growth.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I can relate to a lot of that because I think I struggle sometimes with, am I doing too much, or am I not doing enough? Am I tapping into all of the gifts that I've been blessed with? So that's
Right.
been, a struggle for some time now. So I recently conducted this poll on Instagram on December 23rd, and I was asking my followers a series of questions. So the 3 questions were, what are you leaving behind in 2020? What are you
Mm.
looking forward to in 2021? And then how do you plan to step into 2021 emotionally and mentally? So the reason why I invited you on the show, and I don't even remember when I started following you, but I did. So the reason
Same
why I invited
here.
you is because I felt like you would be able to provide our listeners with positive ways to enter into this new year and take better control of their lives, especially after this very unique year that we had. Like, I'm 37 and I've never experienced anything like what was presented in 2020. So I'm going to share like some of the responses from the polls, because I think like they're a great ways, a great segue rather, into our discussion.
Wonderful.
So the first one, what are you leaving behind in 2020? Those are the ones that we'll focus on right now. So one person said, I'm leaving behind all flaky people and the BS, and I'm bringing this good energy and self appreciation for myself that continues to manifest without any effing apologies. Another person,
Ashe. Yes.
Another person said, I'm leaving behind self doubt and second guessing myself. I'm looking forward to progress and achieving the goals I set forth, whatever they may be.
Right.
Another said, I'm leaving behind the users and caring about people's reactions to me being myself. If you don't like the way I move, also sending self doubt on its way and looking forward to getting mowed down and dirty with polymer clay. So that's a fellow creative.
Nice.
Another person said, leaving behind doubt, insecurity, drama, and fear.
Hmm.
Another said, leaving behind fake love from family and friends, bad energy, negativity, and self doubt.
You hear
And the
this
last,
doubt,
it
doubt,
isn't it
doubt,
trending?
doubt, doubt. And it's funny
Trending.
because that's the first thing I thought of when you posed that first question for myself. That's the first thing I thought of. So this is an energy in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
And so the last one says, I'm leaving behind old emotional baggage. I'm stepping into my fears and I'm welcoming the positive abundance energy I will receive in 2021.
Ashe.
So when we spoke initially, you mentioned that you had three things to share with everyone. And so are you ready to talk about those three things?
I'm always ready.
All right, go for it.
So the first, and I love that you pose those questions, right? Because what that tells me is that people are already doing this first one. So when you first posed this topic, I was really excited. And what I always try to do is sit and tap in intuitively because I am a messenger. I do receive messages from the spiritual realms. And what I was led to share is that one of the focuses for this year for myself and hopefully for the collective is self exploration and self reflection. So I think before 2020, we were always moving, ripping and running. We always had things to do. You know, if we weren't working or taking care of people, there was some type of recreation or something to just fill up the time.
Mm-hmm.
And what this, downtime showed us is that, damn, when you stop and think about things, you'll start to see things kind of come up that, wait a minute, I'm not happy with this, or I didn't really like what I was doing before, but I was doing it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you this time to really check in with yourself regularly. And I think moving forward, that's something we should hold on to, that we shouldn't, when things kind of slowly get back to normal, we shouldn't just leave behind that process of having time and taking time out to check in with the self and identify the areas where there's room for growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when people are looking back at the year, they're seeing that self-doubt is something that's a big deal for them that has held them back. I also heard a lot about authenticity, right? And being able to show up and be oneself. And that's something that's been coming up for me. So I'm seeing these themes throughout, but I feel like it's important for us as we go into 2021 to make time for self exploration, self reflection, and really to check in and make sure we're good. We're not sitting in spaces of self doubt. We're not putting on masks, literally and figuratively, and trying to be what other people would like us to be. If we're in relationships that are not healthy, we're acknowledging that. If we're being bitches and being nasty to people, we're acknowledging that. Like just sitting with ourselves and taking stock of what's working and what's not working. So that's one thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things that I took away from your when we did our first call is that you were like, do you feel safe? And I think that is a question that people don't often ask themselves when thinking about just things that are going on in life, right? And wondering whether or not is this relationship healthy? Is this
Right.
career and this job that I'm in, is that a safe space for me? And I think it's like those little questions that help us to kind of refocus on what's important, right? Um, and then another one that you asked or that you posed was, are my relationships healthy? And then I was having a conversation with someone a couple weeks ago who stressed that, relationships, whether they're friendships, whether they're family, whether they're intimate, yes, they take work, but they should not require overtime.
Right.
And I was like, ooh,
That is so true.
keeping it. Because sometimes, people just put so much energy into this thing. And then you're like, is this where my energy should go? Does it naturally require this much work? Not saying that you shouldn't put in the work, but is it draining you
Right.
to maintain?
Right.
Right.
Definitely. And even something as small as, I think, we are so there's just like this misconception that stability is a given, right? But I think we saw this year that it's a luxury, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
stability is a
Mm-hmm.
luxury. You have a job and you could have had a job for years, but when shit hits the fan, you could not have a job, So it's
Right.
also, um, I love this time because although it was so difficult, you saw people starting businesses, people started creating and doing things they hadn't done. I know for me, I started working on music and I hadn't done that since I was like a teenager, so I love that. And I think that's a part of self-reflection as well. Like, what do I love doing? And why am
Mm-hmm.
I not doing it as much as, I need to be happy?
Yeah. True. I created so just like one of the respondents, I dabbled into polymer clay, and it was something that I chose for numerous reasons. I was like, I didn't want to get into it back in the day. Well, this was like years ago. This was like early 2000s, and it wasn't as advanced as it is now. And so I was on Instagram and I'm scrolling. I'm like, oh, you know what? I could really get into this because it seems like the products are better, the accessories are better. Like, okay,
Mm,
I can do it. And then so I did my first restock of jewelry on my website, and to my surprise, like the number one, the amount of support, but then also the income, I was like, oh, this is how people can do this for real full time. Okay.
that's
I see.
right.
I see how it is. Okay. This is actually possible, as opposed to thinking that, I wasn't going to be able to make a certain amount just off of my hustle, but it's definitely doable. The thing is that you need the time, right? And the dedication and the energy to actually
Right.
do it and be consistent. So
Right.
it's a thing. Um, I think number two, you had self adoration.
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. So self-adoration, we usually refer to it as self-love. So with the self-exploration and self-reflection, you're checking in with yourself and you're identifying areas that need improvement, right? Or that, you want to maintain because they're already good. With the self-adoration piece now, what we do is now that we've identified those things, we're going to identify actions that we can take to either, move past or transcend some of the trouble areas and to maintain or even beef up the things that are going well in our lives, right? So, for instance, if I know this time has been very, very hard for people mentally and emotionally, it's kind of broken up our practices, our habits. Like we had things that we were so used to doing, now we can't do them. And I know that's been really hard for people. So if in self-exploration you find that mental health is a struggle, then for self-adoration, that means getting therapy.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think there's like this huge stigma around therapy. Whenever I need Therapy, I get therapy. It hasn't been consistently, but I'll go through times where it'll be some type of trauma or something that really impacted me to the point where I'm having a hard time working through it on my own. So I'll go to therapy for as long as I need to in that period. And I think that's an act of self-love. I think in the mainstream, self-love is like getting your hair and your nails done. That's great, that's fun, and I like looking pretty and all of that, but there are so many other internal issues that we face that need to be dealt with as well. I also think that a form of self-adoration is working towards just like having that joy, that happiness, that peace. So say that in your case, your art, your creation is something that really boosts you up, and anything that lifts your spirit is a gift from us, God, and a gift from the heavens to really keep you in alignment with your true higher purpose and higher self. So it's like doing the things that you love. For me, I love dancehall music. I love reggae. I'm so distraught that I can't go out. Ah, because a part of being, and I'm a dancer, right? So a part of dance is performance, dancing in a
Yes.
circle, dancing with your peoples,
Yeah.
showing off your skills. And a lot of my dancing now is happening in the house. But that's okay. It's like, what can I do to kind of make up for that lack? So if I have to dance more, if I have to do Zoom parties with my friends, as soon as it gets warmer, if we can go out and dance in an open space, then we do that. But it's like really honing in on those things that we love,
Mm-hmm.
and really practicing and doing that, and also honing in on those things that are a struggle.
Yeah.
I'm struggling because I'm tired of being in this damn house. So how do you deal with that? Don't just sweep it under the rug and act like it doesn't exist, because when we do that, that's when explosions happen. It's like we all have shadow sides, we all have rough edges, and when we try to bury them and not deal with them, that's when they come up, and then it's a problem, and people are like, oh my God, what's wrong with her? So self-adoration is so, so big. And one final one for women, that I have to say, this comes up a lot in my tarot readings. Women have this natural propensity towards nurturing others and loving on others. And I keep hearing for my female clients that we need to take all of that love that we put into other people, into nurturing other people, and really turn that back on ourselves. So that doesn't mean we're neglecting our children and stuff, but we really need to focus on boosting ourselves up with all of that love, the same way we do that for others.
I will say though, I know it's not just women, because I know some men. I know women are
Mm,
more infamous for doing that, but I have men in my life who do that same thing.
wow.
And I'm like, I need you to take all that energy because I'm seeing how it's draining you, right? And you're not taking care of who you are, right? And you're not looking at what you need. And it's hard for people to realize that in their own body, right? Like it takes someone else sitting on the outside, like, bruh,
Right.
fix it, you know? Um,
And Sha, can I just say, every Jamaican man I'm friends with, that is their issue. Like, that's their biggest thing in life. I've never seen people work, 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 work so selflessly and tirelessly and rarely take time out for themselves. And I'm always
mhm.
like, hey, you should take a break, or don't you sit down for a little while, and you're like, no, I gotta go. I got
Right,
things
just
to do.
rest. just just relax. Like,
Right.
everybody, it's great that you want to help and you're so, I have a lot of humanitarians in my circle, but at the end of the day, like, if you number one, if you aren't taking care of yourself, at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to offer
Exactly.
up certain things for everybody else. So,
Right.
yes, love that part. And so visioning, was that the third one?
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes. So, and this is so funny because me and you discussed this, and then I did the tarot reading for 2021, which
Mhm.
is live on YouTube now on my on my channel, and one of the last cards that came up said vision, like create a vision for your life and really focus on that. So before I did the reading and me and you were talking about the topic, the message that I got was about, and then it was confirmed through the tarot reading, but it's very important to develop a vision for the months to come, right? And something that came up in my tarot reading of the year, whether people believe or not, energy is energy. And something I want people to be very mindful of is their mental health this year, because immediately I saw that it's like mental health is going to be under attack, so it's really important that we create these visions for our lives. And that's not just like in terms of work, but like we were talking about with the exploration and adoration, also focusing on those areas that bring us joy, that bring us peace, or that help us to feel calm, that help us to be in good spaces in our temperaments where we're not up and down constantly and things like that. So creating a vision for your life, and then periodically checking that vision, right? Going back to that vision throughout the coming months to make sure you're still on track, right? You're still making progress in the areas you need to, and things like that. So what I suggest is people either journal or, get a board and create a vision board. Do something where you're putting it down on paper, and it's funny because I feel like you can do that with the self-exploration, right? You can kind of pick out the things, the areas that need improvement, the areas that you need to really focus on more. Then through that, identify the actions. Keep that written down somewhere. It can be in, like I said, journal form or in vision board form, and then come back to it periodically, checking in, making sure that you're on track with that. That's going to be so important this year. For some reason, I'm really feeling that.
Yeah. So funny. I was looking at Issa Rae's post the other day, and she was reflecting on a vision board that she did back in, I want to say 2007, or maybe 7 years ago, something with the seven. And so she was just going through everything that came to fruition, right? And then the things that she still had left to work on. But majority of the things that she posted on that board already came
Beautiful.
right, already came through. And then I had a friend who shared with me, she was like, you know what, I'm so sad, because I usually post like myself cooking, or I might post like certain things, and she's like, wow, I miss your food and I miss your gatherings. And she was like, you should do like a virtual a virtual vision board party, because they used to have vision board parties like physical, in person. So we're going to put out a shameless plug for your vision board party that's coming up on January 3rd.
Thank
So
you.
if y'all are out there, Day is having a vision board party on January 3rd. I think it's at 4 p.m. EST, and it's $22 if
Yes,
you
yes,
want
yes.
to attend. But yeah, there's different ways that we can do vision boards. You don't have to. I used to like dread trying to like get all these magazines, but you could
Right.
really just do one. You can make a collage in like Canva. I love Canva. You just go download different photos that you find out,
Good
Google
idea.
certain things, and just kind of create. And if you really wanted to get jazzy, send it to CVS shipping, printing, and
Right.
they can get something out in a day, and you'll have something that you can put
Right.
up. So it doesn't have to be magazines all the time, and then you're trying to figure out what do you do with the magazines after the fact. But
It's so true.
there are ways.
And that's something that I've done for myself. I think last week I just sat down. I like to journal. I have books
Mhm.
and books and books. So
Yeah.
what I did was I just identified areas that I wanted to really focus on this year. One was really building up my business. But I know, and it's just like all these people were saying and talking about self-doubt. I sometimes struggle with that, or feeling like my voice is going to get lost because there's so many people, in this space talking about spirituality, talking about this and that. And just letting that go and knowing that I'll resonate with my tribe,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like I identify areas for business and different ideas I have for that. I identify areas for my mental health, but also my temperament, because I have a short ass fuse with like assholes, particularly. They are my nemesis. I have such a hard time with them, and I try so hard not to respond in a nasty way, and it just don't
Yeah.
work sometimes. So I'm
Yeah.
still working on that. That's on my list of things that I struggle with, that I'm gonna still, try to work on. And it's so funny. Somebody was like, "Well, what about dating?" Because I'm single, and I was like, "What? Oh yeah, that's right, man.
I
Oh
guess we can
yeah,
work on that.
dating a man. Yeah. Oh, I remember those days. And it's like, wait a minute, that's so true. If I want to be in a healthy relationship, at some point in the future, I have to prioritize that. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes, for me, I've become kind of jaded and disillusioned with dating, to the point where I'm just like, well, whatever. And it's just like, no, you can't get like that. Part of creating the vision is you put things that you want, and then you take
Yes.
actions towards it. So I have to release that feeling of, oh, bah humbug
Yep.
relationships. It's like, no, everything's not horrible. Every relationship is not horrible. You can cultivate, just like I can cultivate anything else, I can cultivate that. So I really needed that time to vision, because, there's certain things I wouldn't have even really thought about. And now it's like, wait a minute, no, I need to focus on these things,
Mm-hmm.
like in a very well rounded way, where it's not just work, not just spirituality, but everything that I'm trying to really bring to fruition in my life.
Yes. I hear that. We just went over those things. So we talked about self-exploration and checking in with yourself, and checking in with whether or not you are in a good space, and whether you feel safe, and stepping away from distractions. We talked
Right.
about self adoration, and not over nurturing other people and neglecting yourself. And we talked
Hmm.
about, if necessary, when necessary, getting therapy. I think that was actually on my to-do list for 2020. And then Rona happened, and then I
Hmm.
got furloughed. I was like, well, I'm not getting therapy now because I'm not paying for it out of my pocket.
I know
Um,
that's it.
so there was all of that. Um, and we talked about visioning, and kind of just putting your goals and dreams, and all of that, all of those things on the vision board. I think the last thing you mentioned, there was like a bonus. You said,
Definitely.
yep.
And this is something that definitely comes from 2020, right? My experience with 2020, and an intuitive hit, because I feel like we're not done with the surprises of life, unfortunately. So,
Wow.
the last one, the bonus, is be prepared to pivot. So be prepared to make adjustments and changes to your vision, because as we've learned, things can change suddenly that we didn't foresee, and then we have to figure things out, right? So it's really important to be adaptable, and to know that it's okay, even if you get thrown off a little bit, right? And you had a very specific plan, just tweak the plan and keep going. Like, we have to get used to that, because, guys, I just, astrologically and spiritually, some stuff is going on in the atmosphere where I don't see it being just returning to normal and everything's good again. So we have to be prepared to, make those sharp turns when we need to.
Hmm. Yeah, I pivoted so much in 2020, because I had just started this podcast, and then 3 months into the podcast, then we have Rona, and I had so much planned for, because I had like my carnival agenda lined up. I had tickets booked and all of that, and so that was going to basically catapult my topics for the podcast. And then when it happened, I was like, well, what in the world am I supposed to talk about now?
Right.
And so there was a lot of, like, take a pause, take like, a couple of weeks to gather myself and think about, okay, what am I going to do? And so then there's one pivot. And then when you realize that this is not going away anytime soon, okay, let's pivot again and see how I can restructure my content. And then now I'm like pivoting again, because I realize that, you know what, there's certain things in my brand that I can streamline. There's certain things I can let go of. There are certain things that I can add. So it's like, okay, you know what? We're just going to keep. I just think that you got to be ready all the time. And I know that
Right.
there are people who don't like change, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to give in to change.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, when you really think about it, that is one of the constants of life, right? Because everything can be going smoothly and then suddenly it's like, boom, something just changes and you're like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to figure it out. So yeah, get used to it, guys. This is what it is. But we can do it. Like I feel like this proved that we gonna be all right.
Yeah, it is. We are. So the next set is just a rapid fire. I'm just gonna ask you 5 questions.
Okay.
And you just share, right? A little short blurb, whatever you want to share. So real quick. So for example, tea or coffee?
Tea. No, no, no. I can't choose. I can't choose. It used to be tea. I can't do without coffee. Oh
Oh,
shit. I can't choose. I'm sorry.
okay, no problem. Okay, so she can't choose. Um, one book that you think everyone should read.
Oh my goodness. Women who run with the wolves. That is the Bible for women. Like, honestly, if I was to have baby girls, and it's such a serious book to get through, I'm reading it for like the fourth time. Me and my girlfriend are doing it as a book club.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I had baby girls, though, we would be reading that shit from the from cover to cover because there's so many jewels in there about the divine feminine spirit and
Mm.
how we need to maintain our wildness, our feral part of ourselves, which is basically like our creation, our creativity, our intuition, just the nature of femininity. It's
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful book. Oh my God, I love it.
Got it. Wrote that down. And then, how do you feel about crystals?
I do. I like crystals a lot. I keep them in my home. I resonate more with protective stones and stones that deflect energy,
Mm-hmm.
especially because I do videos and stuff. People be hating, and I don't need that, girl. I got enough issues going on. I don't need
You
nobody
got your
energy.
tiger's eye.
Right. I don't need nobody energy coming up in here. So I have my crystals in the windowsill right there. When I do readings, I'll bring the protective ones over. I cannot hold on to my rose quartz. It
Oh.
disappears. It'll let me hold it for 5 days and then that shit is gone for a year. I don't know what's going on with my rose quartz.
Good. Okay. And then lastly, all right. So what's one thing that you would share with people who have reservations about tarot readings?
Mm. I grew up as a Christian and I remember just being afraid of so much, right? I thought everything outside of Christianity was evil and wicked. And then my spirit began to tell me that that was ridiculous because there were so many different cultures and people all over the
Mm-hmm.
world, right? Who sometimes just weren't introduced to Christianity and all they knew was their culture and there are good people in these cultures who are not
Hello.
going to burn in hell. You know
Yes.
what I mean? So when I started to figure that out, it kind of opened up a new world for me spiritually where I wasn't afraid to try different things. Some people think that tarot calls in negative energy, but that's not the case. Sometimes someone's attitude, the way they talk, the way they think can call in demons, what we call demons and negative energies. Getting too drunk can do that.
Mm-hmm.
The cards, the way I read them, will not do that. They will just literally tap into your own higher consciousness and help me channel to provide messages, to you or whoever it is. So, for people who have reservations, from where I come from, I understand having them. But I think we're in a space where it's time to evolve between beyond these very narrow ways of doing things and see that there is a plethora of
Yes.
energy available to us that we can tap into that can really help us.
Mm-hmm. And this is it's really trending. I went to get my nails done yesterday. Self-love. I went to get my nails done yesterday, and my friend who does my nails, and she's an educator, and she said that she was having a discussion with her class, and one of her students asked her if whether she believed, well, she told them that she didn't celebrate Christmas, and they were like, so you don't believe in Jesus? And she was like, well, no, I don't. And she was like, you're going to hell. And
That's how I was when I was younger. Everybody going to hell.
going to hell. Like fourth grader telling, and she's like, that's not nice. You shouldn't be telling people that because, and
Right.
another student told her that, or told the other student that as well, because, again, like there's so many different beliefs. And just because, you may have one friend that grew up a Buddhist, right?
Yeah.
And just because they may not believe in the same thing that you do doesn't mean that they're going to hell, which is a place that some people may or may not believe in, right? So
Child, the audacity of anyone to even think that it's appropriate to say that. And I remember being in that space, right? Because I'm being taught
yes.
that this is the only thing that's right and everybody else is just going to suffer and burn. The audacity, like the level of self-absorption and narcissism that
Mm.
goes into you being able to look at someone else and condemn them and judge them that harshly is really sad in a way, but it really is taught. Like it's in the book, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's taught, and it's just like, no, this is ridiculous. And no offense to anyone who still practices, right? But it's just I couldn't wrap my mind around it anymore. I could not, and I didn't want to. That's a very heavy energy to wear, where you become everyone else's judge on
Mm.
behalf of Christ, and Christ wasn't even like that, you know.
Yeah. Listen, that's a whole nother podcast.
Right.
But yes, I did want to touch on that. But thank you. So we're going to wrap up a little bit. Can you tell everyone like where and how they can connect with you after we get off this call?
Sure. So I go by the name Daydream Alston. I don't even like that name. I don't know why I chose it, but it stuck, so I'm stuck with it. I also have my spiritual name, which is Oyabunmi, but you can find me at daydreamalston.com, daydreamalston.com. I'm on Instagram, Daydream Alston, Facebook, Daydream Alston. I don't really do Twitter. And then YouTube, if you do a search for Daydream Alston or Daydream 01, I should come up as well. But you can find that information through my website also. And YouTube, I focus mainly on Ifa Orisha practice. I am an initiator priestess in the tradition, so I try to demystify that for people and make sure that they don't get their asses handed to them, because there's a lot that goes into that tradition and you have to be very careful. So I try to provide information that would guide people in that way.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And so Day and I are going to go live on Instagram sometime next week after January 1st has hit. So I want everybody to keep an eye out for that date and time, and it'll be posted on my social media pages and likely in my stories as well. And don't forget to sign up for Day's Vision Board Party on January 3rd at 4 p.m. EST via Zoom, and it is $22 to join. I think my mother's going to be here, so I probably won't be able to do that.
Okay.
But
I'll be
if you
having
do,
more. I'm like, that's one of the visions for me this
Mhm.
year, is to do more group work,
yeah,
especially with women. We just need to gather and talk and
facts.
grow together.
Those little sessions be hitting.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Sha, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you even considering me when you thought about this topic. It means a lot. So thank you, and thank everyone watching. I hope to see you guys again soon.
Thank you. All right. I hope you all enjoyed my conversation with Day. This episode definitely would not have been possible without her, but it also couldn't have been possible, and I wouldn't have been able to press forth without the participation of some awesome sauce IG supporters. So I'd like to take this time out to thank Rose with the Curls, Escape Artist, Simila Crumb, Beloved M, Jojo111079, Jax Jack, Mona T Money 2.0, Natural VZN, Chookanooks, Carlancia Mills, Basil Circle Lovers, and Lisa Scully. Big up on ourselves. Big up on ourselves. So remember to tune in to episode 2 for all the juice. I had to say with my New York, all the juice and information about what happened over the past 2 months and what to expect from Tingz Nice moving forward. There's also some treats specifically for my podcast listeners and some insight into Shabruary 2021. Yes, I said it. Shabruary 2021. February is coming. You know Aquarius season is around the corner. We about to turn it all the way up for the entire month. Okay, sorry. But yeah. All right, that's it. But this is also the perfect time for me to tell you and to remind you to hit the like, the follow, the subscribe buttons if you haven't done so already. And also that share button. Yeah, we need that also. Here in podcast land, it's all about the ratings. So when you have a chance, be sure to leave me a positive review, especially if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, right? And if you're on the website, go ahead and comment under the show notes. Comment about whether or not you like this episode. I need to know, y'all. I need to know. I don't be knowing. Well, I do know sometimes, but anyway, I don't know enough. All right. I need to know. I need comments so I know it's real. Okay. So thank you very much for joining me today. Have an amazing New Year's Day and have an even better 2021. We got this, y'all. All right. Lieta.